Hey everybody, this is Scoots. I make a Sleep With Me podcast, and the stories here at Bedtime Stories from Sleep With Me are stories from our main show, Sleep With Me podcast. I only laugh because it's a lot of words, but if you really enjoy these bedtime stories from Sleep With Me, or if you're new, welcome, enjoy them. I hope you enjoy them. I hope they keep you company in the deep dark night, help you fall asleep. But if you really enjoy these stories, the best ways to help them keep it coming is to try out a subscription on Sleep With Me Plus at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus, or just let people know about bedtime stories from Sleep With Me. It's new. It's something we've never tested out before. And by sharing it, letting people know about it is a huge way to support it and to let other people know what you like about it. So I really appreciate it. And I'd love to hear from you. If you sign up for Sleep With Me Plus, even for a trial, I'll send you out a video and thanking you, and you can reply right to that video. Or you could always reach me through the contact page on our website. Those messages come straight to me. Thanks so much, and enjoy these bedtime stories from Sleep With Me. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for the podcaster who's here to keep you company, to take your mind off of stuff and be a little bit confusing, because I'm more than a little bit confused. You could say, you could call me the auto baffler, because that was, I just listened to an intro where I mentioned that. The baffles are automatic when they come out of me. It's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. And these sponsors were what enabled me to be here for you free twice a week. So if you can remember when your hand hits the fridge tomorrow or that coffee pot, sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors. Thanks. Hey, everybody, this is Scooter. I make a Sleep With Me podcast, and that's where these stories come from, bedtime stories from Sleep With Me. And I hope they help you fall asleep. If you enjoy these, let people know about the show. Just share it when you share stuff. Hey, I really like these bedtime stories from Sleep With Me. Or you could always support the show on Sleep With Me Plus. That's how we're able to do this. You could sign up at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. You could test out a trial even. But if you value the content we make on Sleep With Me and here at Bedtime Stories from Sleep With Me, it's the most powerful way to make sure they're here and available for you now and in the future. And you can always let me know about it. When you sign up for Sleep With Me Plus, I send you a thank you video. You can reply right to that video, or you could get me through the contact page on our website, right at sleepwithmepodcast.com. So thank you so much, and good night. All right, everybody, it is time for our episodically modular series, Spice Friends. I believe this is episode 11. And it's episodically modular with a touch of seriality. If you're new, or this is your first episode, don't worry. I'm going to catch you up on everything you need to know right now. Because that's what episodically modular means, or the definitions I've decided for those words means you can listen to it in any order. Like this could be your first episode, and then you got 10 prequels to listen to. You could listen to those in any order. Now, if you are a completist, I mean, it will catch you up on everything, but you could listen to it the second time, because ideally you're going to sleep through this anyway and drift off. This episode feels like it could be a real snoozer. Like I've stumbled onto some snoozy snooze, even though it's kind of the episode where stuff happens, not much stuff. So whatever order you can listen to it, I'm going to explain that to you just to give you peace of mind. I'm going to catch you up. So just in case, I'm here to help. That's what I'm here to do. Is this is an extra layer of comfort I'm trying to provide, and I always have. So let's get to it, I guess. What am I delaying for? So Spice Friends is a tale about a world just like ours, slightly different. You'd say, is it the same timeline? It's a world you're familiar with if you've consumed any pop culture over the past while. It's a world just like ours, very similar, or it was like ours, just like in some of the movies and in some fictional stuff where there's like giant beings. I think a general non-trademark term is kaiju, large beings, some mammals, that even you'd say, are you familiar with a video game like Donkey Kong? Or another game, there's video games about it, but there's been films particularly about like a, one that may, like a giant, like something similar to a dinosaur, but not those dinosaur movies. These beings are slightly more, they have a little bit more personality than, those park movies or world movies. I like those. So not those movies. These ones are even bigger. So I guess a normal human reaction would be, where do these animals appear in the history of our planet? Because it doesn't really make sense. There must have been some sort of intervening event that caused these, and a lot of different fiction kind of probes that. Where did they come from? Why are they here? Maybe not why are they here, because, you're usually more dealing with it, because they do things like they step on cars or go after neon signs. Maybe they tend to yell at dams. And sometimes they find each other and then they have dance-offs and stuff. So living in a world like that, even where it's an infrequent appearance, you'd say, okay, I think I have gratitude I don't live in that world, because that would add an extra, I already got to get my kid to school or make my own lunch or make a spreadsheet for work. So, oh boy, I don't know if that's my cup of tea. And so, okay, so we lived in a world where these beings would appear and it wasn't easy, right? And they'd step on cars, go after neon signs, do stuff. So they kept appearing and then disappearing, and it was kind of associated generally with what they would call the Age of Adams, but not the Adams family, but Adams with a T. But it may be, you phrase it differently sometimes. The Age of Offensive Adams. Like if the Adams family became their own thing and were doing stuff, and then people would hire them out, nations, they'd say, hey, Adams family, deal with this. But, more with stuff with a half-life. And so people knew that those two, they were related, but they didn't quite understand. And so it created a lot of stuff, and then when they appeared, people were trying to come up with ways to deal with it. At some point, not that long ago, we had elected in the United States President Smith and Vice President Smith, the first father-daughter. I don't know if they needed to change the laws. Don't ask me that kind of stuff, because I don't know the answer of but it was President Smith and Vice President Smith. President Smith they were both already pretty famous and well-liked, and they had great leadership qualities. And President Smith was forced to deal with one of the big dinos type ones pretty frequently, and it kept escalating. Now, meanwhile, he was also working with another planet Zipper, for a longer-term solution. But President Smith actually ended up, because this one just kept coming back, because of, again, fission fusion stuff, Atom Age. This one kept coming back because there was even people in President Smith's own administration working on using this Adams family analogy offensively, and that kept bringing the big ones. And so President Smith had this serum that enabled him to become a big one. And he, at first they said, okay, President Smith already had, there was a lot of cost at first, and maybe that also drew over his decision. But people thought, oh, he's going to have a dance-off. He'll fix everything. Even though now he's 80 stories tall and partially becomes some sort of giant dino type thing. But what he did was he led all of the big ones, because they were scattered around the globe, to this atoll, Big Ones Atoll, and it got them there. And then Planet Zipper had this way to put everybody in hibernation, the entire planet into hibernation. And they did that, and the big ones went into hibernation, and so did the whole planet. But they were, because of their metabolism or whatever, because they're larger, it took them longer to wake up. And so we awoke as a planet and then started renegotiating a lot of stuff of ways of living after you've been hibernated and dealt with the big ones. And then you have a looming thing. We sent a team of astronauts to Planet Zipper trying to figure out how to summarize this faster, but I really can't. But we sent a team of astronauts to Planet Zipper to find a longer-term solution. This hibernation was just kind of a stopgap measure. Meanwhile, government's reorganized, and at some point, Vice President Smith, now President Smith, I don't know, I think went to the big, we don't know exactly, I guess. And so, but Vice President Smith, she kind of stepped down. She was in hibernation too, but then eventually she returned to leadership as president of this collective nation, CN. And she was awaiting the return of the astronauts with the solution. Only one astronaut returned from Planet Zipper. And the astronaut said the way to fix everything is through teaching children and adults to express their feelings through song and dance, which at first didn't make sense because there was a lot of theories that were that didn't make any sense either. And it said also that doesn't sound like a good way to deal with giant beings, But he said, trust me, and it ended up working. It created these giant spice-based beings. Again, there's a whole complicated backstory with lots of details or world building, There's TV shows, breakfast cereals, all that stuff. But by teaching people to express themselves in their strong feelings, that made these spice friends came. And the spice friends would kind of have these dance-offs with the big ones. And again, that caused its own issues. But sometimes they would kind of fuse and fly away or whatever. Then eventually human beings used this chaos as advantage to kind of do more stuff, take more stuff. And there was different plans. They didn't work out. Just like human beings, even the President Smith and the astronaut, now known as Astro, you'd lose sight of things because, again, it is hard to kind of return to the idea, well, I just got to express because nothing works immediately, right? But we just express ourselves through song and dance and everything's going to work out fine. And so, again, you'd go to because it's not a solution so much, I think is what we were learning. It was a thing. And again, it's like, wait a second, I don't understand. And then, when you're a human, your default mode is to be a human being. So again, that is the extra layer. Now, also, the astronaut and the president were just as valuable as the rest of us. That's one thing. The second thing we found out was the astronaut made some poor choices on the way to Zipper. And also he discovered that Planet Zipper was a planet of a collective being. They could also butt off into individual beings. It was the last planet of its kind. So I guess there was other planets with this type of species of collective being. But they all they dealt with the big ones, and the big ones more so dealt with them. And part of it is the strength of the collective feelings, possibly. Again, this is all theories. But this planet Zipper had discovered Earth, and it really loved Earth. In a way, I guess that spans a spectrum of feelings. They just liked watching Earth and seeing Earthlings. They weren't an individual being, even though some of them were butting off occasionally. And they would observe Earth, and eventually they saw that Earth was impacted by these big ones too. And so they said, well, maybe we should intervene because we love Earth so much. But they also discovered that, wait a second, when we were focused on Earth, we weren't having problems with the big ones or as big of problems. And that something about Earth's feelings, eventually we discover in the story that's thus been told that the big ones don't quite know if they're attracted or they consume or they're sustained but human feelings impact them strongly, and Zipperian feelings. And so then you had a situation where we have planet Earth, they got these big ones walking around, still pretty chaotic. Planet Zipper wants to get through and keep they're the last planet of their kind, and they love Earth. So they kind of came up with this thing, along with some of the leaders of Earth that wasn't President Smith, that, hey, why don't we just get some sort of compromise where we'll help, because otherwise, if you don't work with us, we got to make sure our planet gets by, right? and we got to keep the big ones on your planet, and we'll keep our feelings focused on your planet. So, but we could do that in a way where you just kind of, it's like a somewhat cooperative, but with an ultimatum. And obviously Earth didn't like that because it actually like created a lot of malaise because people said, well, so I got to kind of keep my, like our feelings are going to be kind of moderated by Planet Zipper or something like that. I don't even know, but like that's the basic gist of it is keep your feelings in check and everything will be fine. Just listen to us. But what happened was like, and again, I'm not an expert on this. This is history that I'm recounting that's been all vocally told. I don't have written history, any of this stuff. Also, by the way, pretty complicated because it's happening on an alternative timeline. And I don't know if you tried to communicate with anyone in this timeline, but try getting your information from another timeline. I don't know how they did it with that one show with the people and the jet skis and stuff, but I said, well, that's got to be tough. So where was I? Nowhere. Once again. Okay, so we were building and building and building, and then eventually people turned back to President Smith and Astro. They were out of power. They were actually like considered jokes. And because all the other leaders, the strong leaders that considered themselves to be strong of arm, they said, we're going to work with Zipper. We're like we'll keep things the way we like it. And those two are a joke. But eventually people found their way back to saying, wait a second, when I express my feelings, I have a positive, like in a positive way, if I have an outlet for my feelings, like living a life lacking in feeling, or stuck in your feelings is like, it's not like what works best. Maybe, I don't know. Again, this is just, I'm putting my words to it and basing it on my experience and what I've observed in this other fictional timeline that happens within my brain. So this even makes it more complicated. But so that that people like expressing their feelings in a healthy way, not easy. And through the joy of song and dance, even when it's a mirthy feeling, it feels good. Or other means. Again, they expanded upon this idea. And then that's when the President, Smith and Astro realized, wait a second, it's not fission or fusion or half-life material used in an offensive way. It's our inherent feelings about that fact that is what like is related to these big ones. That's when they realized the big ones are not interested in those type of materials that a band would say are radioactive in like between dance beats or whatever. The big ones are interested in our feelings, and our feelings just happen to be deep, latent ones, probably strongly related to that because of, just because of implications, obviously. And so like big beings, big feelings, even though the feelings, keep it on the down low, they said, okay, this is about feelings and not about fission or fusion. There you go. Put that on a T-shirt. It's about feelings, not fission. But it is actually, and then it'd be more complicated. But so as they discovered this, and then they kind of got back into this process of song and dance and expression, like Zipper was like, wait a second, so you're not going to listen to what we're doing? You're kind of going to force our hand. And then they said, well, what if we buy... They didn't have many options, Earth. I think Zipper started building some sort of device, some sort of beacon system or amplifier to get closer and closer to Earth. And so the president, like a great leader does, like similar as Jean-Luc Picard said, I don't know what to do. I know we have to maybe trust, we have to keep trying, even though we don't know the results or even how we're going to get to the results. And so she decided, well, we'll have like an Olympic type event between the Spice Friends and the big ones to buy time. But like, it was also like, if we buy enough time, we'll figure it out. Maybe we'll win the Olympic event. But it didn't seem like, and then the president realized, if the Olympic event is never completed, there's multiple events, but the last thing was this relay race, right? And she realized if the relay race is never completed, none of the big ones or the Spice Friends complete the relay race, like it takes them forever, then kind of she was still buying time, waiting for a solution to kind of present itself. And that's kind of where we left off, more or less. So what happened, where we are is, also the big ones returned. So there's three kinds of giant beings, okay? The original big ones, the Spice Friends, which are, I don't want to use the term good or bad, but, representative of strong feelings, I would say. And the Spice Friends are more representative of positive feelings. The big ones are representative of feelings. Either one, if you get too caught up in your feelings, you're going to make a choice. They're feelings, they're meant to be felt. And then there's a third set of big ones, which are kind of fused big ones and Spice Friends together. And they had been away. And so I guess we don't know what's going on other than we're out on the plain in the middle of nowhere. There's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of humans gathered there in these villages, kind of expressing themselves through song and dance and feeling. And there's the big ones, and Zipper's getting this device closer and closer to Earth. And we got to, obviously things are headed in a certain direction. But, as the president always says, she says all will be well, just like Emma Otter used to say. It's just a matter of trusting her leadership and our ability to have our feelings and go into the unknown together. But speaking of unknowns, one thing I don't know is how someone can be so generous, so charming, so devastatingly, handsome, but I was trying to think of something else because it's just like, whose charisma and really even your handsomeness really, and I'm not saying this, I really mean it to the depth of my core, exudes from your heart and your spirit and not your outsides. I really genuinely believe that. Your eyes light up the room because there's something coming out of you, or maybe it's coming into you and out of you at the same time. And that's a person that takes your time to drive here from Los Angeles, ideally doesn't drink, uses the restroom and then doesn't drink any water 2 hours before he gets here, and then dresses in like a Tyvek suit with booties. Well, not Tyvek because we discovered that was too noisy. It's actually a suit I designed made of moving blankets, so it doesn't really fit him, but he makes it work anyway. And he looks like a poorly dressed beekeeper in a beekeeper suit made of moving blankets. But they keep falling off him. But he still comes back all the time. That's my newest invention, though. It's Mr. Antonio Banderas. The friends beyond the binary, as the ladies and gentlemen, as the boys and girls, it's time to get spicy with Spice Friends. Sizzle. But Miss, thank you for your kind words, Scooter. You bring me joy as well, and the listeners too. It is a joy of connecting with all of you in the deep dark night that exudes from my heart and my spirits. Wow, that sizzled me. So thank you. This is Mr. Antonio Banderas, and this is Spice Friends. Okay, this is Madam Prez, I guess. And we've got a conundrum here, and I'm not seeing, once again, we're in a position, I don't know if the details really matter anymore. I'm trying to record this not for posterity. I guess I've learned that this communication method and letting someone else listen to it where I feel unguarded and safe to express my ideas, it's been working as part of our process, but I guess this will be recorded for posterity. But even in figuring out the solutions now of what to do the details matter as much as where we're feeling and what we're going to do about it and how we feel about that. So I guess thinking about this communication through this part here, I don't know if we need to communicate as much of the details, but maybe at the end. But I can talk about the fact that it's like we're in a place. My father used to like this song from that Can't Get There From Here, I think that was the hook. Maybe he didn't like it and I liked it, and we're in that. We want, like, we're stuck in trying to compromise and build some sort of compromise that we don't be able to see a way again to get to. But also it's kind of this thing of like wanting to go back to a time that never existed or go forward into a future that is fictional and cannot exist. It's like we can't get there, like, because it's like, oh, well, what would be the ideal solution is like a pretty big one's time. Or, but is that even, that's not a place we could get back to? Did it even really exist, even though it existed, maybe? But like the fission fusion, was what brought the big ones here, our feelings about that. And also it's kind of like now Zipper, we don't have like a lot we can do. It's kind of like, they've taken away we're in a sandbox. I don't know. Astro, you said, just think up an analogy that doesn't make any sense and maybe you'll find the right way. And again, don't focus on the details, but I do feel like we're children feelings-wise, and like we're in a sandbox. All our toys have been taken away, and Zipper's watching us and saying, go ahead and play. And you say, well, I was used to playing with that toy or that one, and I don't know if I want to play when you're telling me to play. And I would rather, and also like, and you're saying I can't do anything else. But yeah, like you're almost like you're making me play as a job for you and you're getting something out of it. I don't know. Like, it's like my play is not entertainment for you but a child can't put that into words, but also, I mean, maybe they can. They say, well, I'd rather play with toys, or I'd rather play alone, or I'd rather play when I feel like playing. And Zipper's saying, nope, you're going to play in that sandbox, period, end of story. Then we'll have dinner when I feel like you're done playing. And they said, well, what if I decide not to play? And they said, well, we could, like that, believe it or not, the act of not playing is for us, you will be playing. And they say, well, what if I decide to get out of the sandbox then and not play in that way? And you say, well, you don't have that option because the sandbox is, you're in the sand, you don't have that, we're not going to allow. And I say, okay. And you say, wait a second, they kind of like, so we'll say, oh, well, I'm not so sure I'm comfortable with that, but I'm feeling like those kind of, then that brings up feelings, right? Even pre-sandbox feelings. And I say, well, can't we work something out? Because otherwise I will like be in a place where it's like I'm kind of flailing my arms, like is how I would be feeling, and making loud noises instead of playing. Wouldn't you rather, can't we reach a compromise where I want to be here playing? I guess because I am an adult, right? Even though we're placed in a position where, and I say also, I think you're underestimating, because there's something else with Zipper that I sense and other people sense. There is a sense of, they have feelings that they're not being honest with us about, and that those feelings are kind of influencing them, right? So yeah, it's like like I don't want to have to. We don't, like, can't we work this out? But again, I guess what I'm most concerned with right now is that it's intractable, because in some sense, I don't want to work things out, right? I say, I want to, and I can't quite get past that either, is that I don't want to work stuff out. So Planet Zipper, I guess the details or the summary, they say they can, they say we could go back to working this out where we kind of perform for them and just be ourselves within certain contexts, or that now they have this ability, or they're almost finished with this ability, but even then it'll probably work to, just go back to the high, because they said they voted and they said, we could come to Earth, or we could send some budding off zipperins to Earth, and then but then we said the big ones are already there, or we could project ourselves onto Earth or whatever. But they said, what we realized is we could just keep putting you in hibernation over and over again, because what we really need is your humanness. But maybe, because we said, well, you'll probably devolve. Like if you go through this long period of hibernation, then you wake up and we let you be human for a little while. Then we so a constant cycle of hibernation and humanity. And they said they've been running models there, and that is probably the solution. They said if it's not, they can always change their mind. And so that would be that's what they're saying for us is if you get out of the sandbox, that's what's going to happen. We'll just put you to bed, I guess. You'll have to go to bed and go to sleep. But it's 2 p.m. Oh, well. So that's where we're at right now. So we don't know what else to do. And they also kind of, the big ones, they're having this conference with all 3 groups, but they're very static. And we say, yeah. So, and so we don't know, so that's where things are at. And I know I have one other choice, I guess, but I'm not sure how that choice fits in with things. And so, yeah, Astro, I guess I'll just turn it over to you and see. And we're playing a waiting game, I guess. Okay, so this is Astro here. And, yeah, I guess like you said, Madam President, the details don't matter, and it's tough to compromise when you don't feel like you have any power in the compromise, like you said, and you don't feel like you have any options, and we don't want to be put to bed. But also that those are the feelings that come up, like strong feelings for us, right? Dismay, frowny face. A face of like that Munch painting, and just wanting to thrash around and yell, and very infantile, I would guess say. But also that Zipper is still worried about things. But also, Madam President, I feel like you're not being honest with me. And I know I'm not being honest with myself. And also thinking about, okay, well, what happens next, correct? What happens next, and where, we are going to have to take action. And I know that, Zipper's probably feeling the same way. Like maybe we're just buying time. And I feel like we do kind of have some ideas, unfortunately, of what actions to take. But then that brings up unfinished business here on Earth, I guess, is what I've been avoiding. But I think what you're avoiding too, Madam President, if you don't mind me saying so, is that whatever you're not telling me, I can sense, and I want to say this in a way that doesn't feel like an obligation, but that right now you understand how to be in a process of creating solutions or finding solutions without having the world needs leadership like that, Madam President. I can return to the process and say, hey, this process works, even though we keep forgetting it, even though my actions right now are in the process of avoiding exactly what I'm talking about. But that, so let me see if I could describe it in terms, I know something's going on with you, and that maybe you have some solution in your mind that has some sort of stakes that so you don't want to reveal it. But I can sense that the part of it is that you won't be here to help lead us anymore. I can sense that, I don't know if you're planning on going to Zipper or doing something or saying, hey, I'll come to Zipper. Or I can't figure it out. And I've let go of trying to figure it out. But I sense that. I sense something's going on with you. And I would say one of the solutions is you have to be here to teach other people and to be an example so other people can learn to lead like you've led us. And there are people cropping up. At the same time, I know that I'm avoiding something big too, and having this, what feels like a timeline to a solution, or timeline to change. I guess things will change clearly, maybe, and it seems like a big unknown. One thing I do know, Madam President, even though I don't know what's going on with you, I know what's going on with me is that I'm avoiding something. And what I've been avoiding is more and more people have come out to participate in the process of expressing our feelings and wondering why the big ones aren't reacting to them. But people collectively feeling relief and then again waking up the next day with the knowledge and then needing to express their feelings or other feelings again and again and again. More and more people have come to participate, and they've invited me to participate with them, including families of my team that went to Zipper. And while I've greeted them, I have not joined them in song or dance or artistic expression, drawing, singing, crawling around, playing, talking, cooking. They've invited me multiple times because I know I have to be honest with them, right? Be honest that I've made some mistakes and then move to a solution. So that's what I need to go and do now and say, hey, my choices have impacted you. And, what do I need to know? I was wrong, those kind of things. And express my feelings. And then, and I've been doing it, I guess, that's why I'm ready to move forward now, even though I'm not 100% confident I will. And again, having the looming unknown, but like almost like a countdown. I know I have to do this, not just because of the unknown, but because we're stuck, and maybe again, process of being unstuck. So that's where I'm at, Madam President, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, Astro. Well, we had a conversation that you didn't record because it was so personal, but it also moved you towards the solution and theories with some of the other. And again, yes, I'm holding on to something too. So maybe I should talk about that first instead of talking about the details. But that, because I guess the details aren't something we're all comfortable with. But yeah, things with my father have been complicated for me, right? Because he did leave me with something, and I don't know even, I'm presuming it will allow me to become like as he was, and I'm just not sure, or I wasn't sure what that would do, right? Or how that would, right, like that, how that would, yeah, like you're saying, I'm torn because it's like you're saying I should stay here and lead Earth, But my father was the truest hero, and to me, and now you're saying it would be more heroic for me to stay here and be a leader than use what my father left me, which is only to be opened, like, so, I mean, he left me instructions, and they said, just, wait, just wait. But we did come up with a plan. And again, we're still in disagreement about how to implement that plan. But you said, wait a second. And again, we have teams of, and it's so funny how we found this. This didn't occur to you until we got to the point where you had fixed some things. And I'm still struggling with this thing with my father, but at least admitting to you that it's a struggle. And that maybe you're right, but then what do I do about it? Because I'm being pulled towards this one thing, right? I have to do this. And you're saying you don't have to, or could someone else do it, or whatever it is, or what if it's not what you think it is? And then it's like, what could it possibly be if it isn't what I think it is? And is it just another red herring then? Though the feelings in the Spice Friends aren't a red herring, even though they've gone silent still. And that was one of the things we tried to get their attention or keep expressing our feelings. And maybe they're growing in power, or maybe they're in the same kind of stuck thing of not knowing what to do. But you kind of came up with the thing. You said, okay, and again, working with our team, said, okay, they're planning on using this amplifier or this series of beacons as a way to keep Earth snoozing and to keep bugging us or whatever. And that's pretty clear that that's what they're up to. And you said, okay, there's a couple possible theories that we've been working on and that the teams have been working on. And one of those, you said, well, okay, support systems, like Earth is what everything Zipper is saying is that Earth is their support system. And that they need us, they need us to be the outlet for their feelings or whatever. Like in some sense, I don't really know all this stuff, how it works in a one-on-one setting, but that they're going to they're projecting onto Earth, and they're going to use this thing as a projector to put us in hibernation. But you said it must work both ways, right? Like your sense is that, like it's a support system, right? They're going to be, or that even like this was existing in some other form. That was how they had all this easy way to observe Earth, and how this device came together. I mean, which is a big device. You said maybe there was a nanotechnology or something. Again, the details don't matter. What are we going to do, right? But that if we could use the device in some way to separate us from Planet Zipper, to isolate us or to isolate Zipper, is there a way we could do that? And how would we do that? And again, we brainstormed, and then the idea came out of our delusional thinking, right? That we were both behaving in a slightly delusional way, in that maybe that's a part of our history or part of who we are. And that, again, that is almost where the Spice Friends came from, was like the things that exist below the surface of the delusion, or the sky reflecting the sun. We were like someone that thought the sun was in the sea or the pond. And like then you say, well, how can I go fishing in the sky or whatever it is? I can't go in that water because the sun's there. There's probably some myth like that. We were unable to see past the projection and the delusion we had to the depths below. And And again, that's the thinking, even though Zipper's a different type of being than us, they seem to think this is going to work and it's not going to work. And we tried to explain it to them. And they said, well, we don't have a choice at this point. So if you can't think of something, then we're going to have to, use this hibernation method. And then we won't have to worry about it. And you won't have to worry about it. It's a very nice solution. You sleep, you wake up, you kind of restart things. Again, we'll give you time to, like a repopulation time. And then, we'll back to hibernation. We'll let nature take its course with hibernations in between. And again, we tried to explain to them the camp hot, and they said, okay, well, we'll give it 2 or 3 tries, and then we'll reset. And then our individualisms held on. Well, no, you're not going to, And again, we couldn't keep this a secret from the world because we had to keep expressing our feelings through song and dance. And as we did that, now I feel like the Spice Friends and the big ones are more active. There's some sort of motion going on. And we're trying to communicate with them to get them to do something. But it's like right now it's figuring out if we can send something or do something to separate ourselves from that planet, again, and just cut it off. Or is that delusional thinking? I don't know. But that's the details currently. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Well, Madam President, it's me again. And so, since our last thing, I don't know. I guess they've Planet Zipper showed us another side to themselves while we delayed and debated, and and it's like they showed another side to themselves, and now our feelings are stronger that we should just deal with them. And we have an idea of a plan. You admitted to me that you had this device of your father's or this box, and that presumably there's some sort of serum or something in there that will turn someone into a big one. And we have to believe that there's 2 options. Again, we've found this delusion option, working with the greatest. I mean, everybody on the planet wants to work together. It's that, what if we could send something back through the beacon? We're pretty sure we can do that. But also send 2 things back, or something back with everything. Because whatever, very similar to what started all this here on Earth. What if there's a way to create something similar to an asteroid belt, right? This is what we're going to try. That will separate us from Zipper forever. And kind of create a block. And they'll have to deal with their problems, and we'll have to deal with the big ones. But also sending someone through that's changed to me. I mean, it's what we've decided, or I've decided, and you've kind of decided. But no, I'm still pretty much just Astro. But I'll go through, if this works, it should work, even though it doesn't seem like it, that I can use whatever your father left to become a big one. And to get back to Zipper somehow, either through the device or through feelings or through projection, whatever it is. And at the same time, you take their devices with them and use that as a foundation to create a cloud, I guess a cloud of confusion or delusion or something, somewhere between Zipper and here, that separates us permanently. Now, that'll probably, unfortunately, doesn't feel, that's the hardest part. It doesn't feel okay, though. It's there's the whole idea, will it work? But those are the details that I'm just communicating, not that the details matter. It's what if it does work? What does that mean for Planet Zipper? And what does that mean for us? We still have all the big ones. And we still have, we don't even know what it's in your father's thing. We're going to open it. And I wish I wish it was clear, but this is one of those situations where it's like, what's more important? I guess you would say, Madam President, like, should we just keep going into the unknown? Because I think separating us from that planet, but without I think is good, like to have the boundary, but not to force the boundary, right? To say, hey, you can't have contact with us through this thing. You deal with your stuff. I mean, that's normal interpersonal stuff. Totally makes sense. But this is a whole planet and the last planet. But what if I don't know, Madam President, like, what if we check the device and try that, but also really let the big ones know. I know they can already feel it, but see if they have an answer. Maybe it's that, like, we're expressing our feelings now. Maybe we have to express some of our needs or the gravity, or maybe the big ones are working on it because they're close together. I don't know. Let me know, Madam President. Okay, well, it's Madam President here back, President of the world, hardy har. Okay, well, here's where things are. They didn't quite work out as expected, and they haven't worked out for anybody because we opened the thing and it was not a serum to change someone. It was a beacon, and we had somehow, again, talk about layers of delusion. We had forgotten that there was one other, it had died down again. And again, I guess all the theories of the team collecting the data had said that's probably one of the big ones, fused big ones, was that there was another large big one out there. And we had misinterpreted that data. And this beacon called them back and called them out of wherever they were, but not just here, but on planet Zipper too. And we're trying to, at the same time, we also talked to we talked to the big ones and the Spice Friends and the fused ones, and said, what are we going to do? We don't know what to do, and we don't know how to communicate with you. But we feel like you sense our feelings. Maybe you sense something more. And we don't need a clear answer. We need some help from you because we have a way to deal with this, but it doesn't feel like the best way. And again, we're in the unknown. And they seemed very responsive. And there seems to be something working with them. But So now, we have a really, really, really big one, independent of all of this thoughts and feelings, somehow present or, appearing on both planets, and pretty much is going to, I guess, would cause the Zipbarians to react once they get things under control there. Or, we're trying to communicate with them too, to say, hey, well, let's fix this. I guess the big one, it has made it was looking at first, and it's got this cloud around it, so we haven't been able to get a lot of details, but it's very loud and steamy or whatever, or some sort of shell too. And it's coming here to the plane, and I guess we're waiting. Now we may have to get hibernated, because then they'll hibernate all the big ones and the Spice Friends too. But we have to believe there's a way to fix this when this thing gets there, and that Zipper, now Zipper knows we want to help them too. But because they watched all this unfold, right? We had the chance briefly to just to just let zipper, and again, like they could try to hibernate us, but we could also just as easily use this pulse that we've designed and send our feelings back through and create this separation, this cloud, this belt, asteroid belts, because it turns out that it's like closer to zipper. There is something, I don't know, that's science stuff. But so we have to work together now, and we have to work together now because of our mistakes, interestingly enough, because we made choices just based on us and wanting, like, feeling like the only way to work it out was for ourselves alone or for Zipper's self alone. And now we're in a position where we're dependent on one another. It looks like you could make a rash decision, but that doesn't mean it's going to work out. So we go yet again into the unknown together to try to solve this while we're still expressing how we feel about it. And now Zipper's expressing how they feel about it. And it does seem to be that the big ones are all getting excited, and the fused big ones and the Spice Friends. So we don't feel like we have to deal with this alone either. I guess that's it's like, oh, if this giant big one gets there, we don't know. It's kind of unexpected. It's kind of an unknown too, but we have a team here, and they do feel like they have caring for us, and something changed in them when they knew we were conflicted and unwilling to move into a conflict, like to move against our values, even if it was what we thought was best for us versus the unknown. So just like Emma Otter says, I know all will be well. I don't know how it will be well, but I'm recording this, and I'm confident when this big one arrives and whatever's happening on Zipper, that we can reach a solution together. And maybe we're even, I feel that's strange. And maybe it's just my leadership qualities that people point out. I feel like even though things have ratcheted up in the unknown, that we're closer to it all working out. I don't know if Emma Otter would have said that, but maybe that's what she meant when she said all will be well. Like, even though we're approaching a new precipice, I feel like that precipice is that there's an invisible bridge or something there, or that looking over it, I'll see, oh, that's where I dropped my keys. So thank you, Emma Otter, for telling me all will be well, even though I don't always understand it. Good night. Thanks. I want to thank everybody who supported the podcast on Patreon recently. Tim, Raphael, and Erica, thank you. Thanks. Good night. Eric, Kyle, and E, thank you. Thanks. Good night. Ann, Richard, and Troy, thank you. Thanks, and good night. Mars, Robert, and Ryan, thank you. Thanks, and good night. John, Natasha, and Jessica, thank you. Thanks, and good night. Will, Michael, and Paul, thank you. Thanks, and good night. Adrian, Stephen, and Madison, thank you. Thanks, and good night. James, Benjamin, and Mary, thank you. Thanks, and good night. Emily, Fiona, and Sarah, thank you. Thanks, and good night. Kim, Ramona, and Marceline, thank you. Thanks, and good night. Chris, Becky, and Roseanne, thanks, and good night. And Ashley and Sam, thank you. Thanks, and good night. Could not do it without all of you supporting the show. I really appreciate it. Sleep With Me is here's a free podcast because the people that support the show directly on Patreon or support our sponsors, that's like literally how we'll be here for free twice a week. And also it'd be great if you want to support me and the podcast in a free way, you could sign up for our newsletter, sleepwithmepodcast.com/badmagic. It's not about the podcast. It's not about Patreon or supporting the podcast. It's about supporting the members of our communities who are experiencing homelessness. And we'll be doing a lot of fun stuff on there, so check it out. And that's it. Thanks. And and here's the Tuck You In sponsor. That's how we got it for over 450 now in the archives for free. Thanks, and good night.